I've been getting a lot of questions recently about, folks have a good season, they run really well over a season or a year, and they want to do more and more and more. And they'll ask me, how much more should I do? Should I have a big increase in volume and so on? And it's an important question. And again, there's individualized components because there's a lot of things you can do. You can keep them at a similar volume and then just increase the intensity of their training, or you can increase the volume while maintaining intensity. You generally don't want to increase both, at least not at the same time. Over a course of a season or a year, yeah, but not at the same time ever, because that puts your athletes in a higher position or higher risk of getting sick or injured or even both. So we want to be careful with that. But that said, an increase in volume, I think, is generally a better, safer way than an increase in intensity at the same volume. You want to continue to build the aerobic foundation, right? So you can capitalize on VO2 max training, on anaerobic running, and all these different things. So, think of aerobic training as baking a cake, and think of the rest of the stuff as putting the frosting around it, the finishing touches. The more you continue to add and boost your aerobic training, your aerobic profile, the better off you're going to be, particularly if you're a middle distance runner or a distance runner. And so, general rule of thumb to me, I kind of follow a college and high school formula. I don't increase more than, and this is mostly, there are some exceptions, but I generally don't go more than 10 miles per week, an average, for a year. So I just think of my ninth graders, no more than, let's say 25 to 30 miles per week. My 10th graders, no more than 35 to 40. 11th graders, no more than 45 to 50. My 12th graders, no more than 55 to 60. And when you go to college, I generally follow the same rule of thumb, with the exception of the first and last year. My seniors generally run as much as they'll run the same volume as their freshmen in college, because there's going to be a transition in a lot of different ways. The training itself is going to be more intense. They have to get used to running a faster pace for everything, training for longer distances. So that alone, I keep the volume the same that first year. But then the following year, from 55 to 60 to 65 to 70. And then 75 to 80 as a junior, then 85 to 90 as a senior. And again, it's just a rule of thumb. Some people respond better with lower volume, some people respond better with higher volume. But I like to keep it at a 10-mile per week change in overall average for about a year's period. And within that, you can do the one thing. You can add the volume, right, for, let's just say, the first half of the year, and then you can add the intensity to that same volume the second half of the year. So you're getting the best of both worlds. And giving yourself a chance to adapt, giving your runners a chance to adapt to whatever training they're doing. And even in schools where there's 3 seasons in a year, you can kind of break it down as well. So using the summer as a base period for cross country, and using the winter as a more of a base period for the spring, while still racing at the same time. So I wanted to just answer that question today, because I'm getting a lot more frequently nowadays, especially people who run well. They run PRs and they want to continue to do it, and you can't really blame them, right? That's a good thing, wanting to do more, but wanting to do it and wanting to do it the right way is important. So protecting their athletes, because when you get setbacks and things like that, it can be frustrating, right? And it can affect your mindset, it can affect your training. So keeping them healthy is one of the most important things you can do as a coach. So my rule of thumb is essentially no more than 10 miles per week. And again, if you break it down into 2 sections of the year, add the volume for the first half, add the intensity with that same volume in the second half. And you can do it in a way that they're still getting some more intensity in the first half, and so on. You can do it in a lot of different ways without forcing the athletes to have to drop volume or miss days and so on. And keep in mind, too, with that volume, let's just say you have a day off every other week, right? It's my rule of thumb. Let's just say they're doing 50 miles, which is essentially a 7 mile per day average, right? A little bit more than 7 miles. So that'd be the average for the week, and then some days will be shorter, some days will be longer, and so on. Generally with like a 50-mile week, I tend to have about a 10-mile long run in there. In some cases, up to 12. But maintaining the same mileage per day in the week where they have the off week. So if you're having 7 days per week, like a 7-mile average, and you're doing 6 days per week the next week, you still want to maintain that 7-mile average. So it'll be about 42 to 43 miles the following week, rather than doing 50 and increasing the amount of running that they do per day, which defeats the purpose of the actual off day. So maintaining your mileage per day average is a key. Whether you're taking a day off every week or every 2 weeks or even every 3 weeks, that's a very important key. All right, and if you want a little bit more insight in terms of how to kind of break it down into training, take a look at my training programs. on my channel. I've got middle distance running, 800-mile, 3K, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. You'll see how it's broken down. Generally with a day off every other day, or every 2 weeks. I mean, every week, or every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks. You'll see how exactly it's laid down, and how there's a similar volume per day average within these cycles for adaptation purposes, to let your athletes adapt. And adaptation is very, very important. So I wanted to plug that in there as well. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. There's 300 plus videos here for you. And, if you haven't subscribed, then please let me know why. Is there something I could do more? Is there something I could do better? Because I want to continue boosting this channel. We just got over 2,000 subscribers, so I thank you for that. Now I'm on the road to 2,500. So your help is greatly appreciated. And especially if you find it helpful, hit the thumbs up and share with other runners and coaches. I don't want people to miss out on this content. And again, you have direct access to me too at blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. So if you have questions about anything on my channel, ask. Don't hesitate. I'm happy to help. All right, and have a great week, everybody. Talk to you next time.